The Jim and Terry Show. We've got another one. This one might be contentious because it's going into things that are claimed to be true. People saying things that maybe they shouldn't be saying and hiding behind the veil of faith while they say it. Things that are not true being espoused by people who say that they are Christians.
I'm not even sure that they are hiding behind it. Okay, obviously the Bible tells us there's going to be wolves in sheep's clothing. We're going to have that. That's a fact. In the churches, anywhere. Because if you believe like I believe, you realize our battle is not against flesh and blood, but with the powers, evil powers and powers and authorities, I'll put it that way, in the heavenly realm. For some reason, I'm tripping over my mouth. So they may think they're doing right by honoring God's anointed. You know, that kind of thing.
Where the head of the state, being Donald Trump, is God's anointed, according to some people?
Well, he said it. Trump stood there with his arms raised to heaven and said, I am the anointed one. He said that. I think he said, I'm the chosen one. Didn't he say that? Maybe not anointed. Maybe I am the chosen one. Okay. Yeah, I think he said I am the chosen one, not the anointed. But I may be wrong.
So we're saying, they are saying, whoever believes this, that God has chosen that particular leader.
And, you know, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. But Pharaoh was the chosen one, too, when Moses was confronting him.
Yeah.
He was God's man at that time. And it
for
wasn't
judgment.
And for judgment. It was to judge all of the false gods and everything in Egypt. So a warning to America that, you know, we may be saying goodbye to America.
Yeah, America. What did they say? The White House? There was a movie about the White House has fallen.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what the code name is for the White House.
There was a few movies like that.
Yes, where you get, well, it's true. And then London has fallen and the whole sequence. Well, maybe the world is going that way. Our concern is with the people who make claims that cannot be substantiated. In this case, it's the claim that Franklin Graham, among other leaders like Patricia White, I'm going to say that there are a number of ones, and then there's that prosperity gospeler that we all have the jets in the upholstery, and God told him that he needed another one. And so people are making claims of one thing, while what we're looking at on the political sphere or cultural sphere is the opposite, that it doesn't seem to be chosen unless it's to wreak havoc.
And it could be God's judgment on America, which I think it is. And Canada as well, I suppose. I don't understand, let's say, Franklin Graham, all right? And I don't know the man personally, but he's a leader of a Christian organization, obviously taken over from his father.
Billy Graham,
the famous Billy Graham.
Evangelist.
And Franklin being at the inauguration of Donald Trump as king, so I guess it was the coronation. Behind him is the most richest people in the entire world.
The oligarchs.
The oligarchs. And he is, just before Trump did that absolutely disgusting speech about taking over the world and everything else, prayed for him diligently as, you know, basically the chosen one to be in power at this particular time. Now, what makes me wonder about that is because, as I said, they're not stupid people. They know they're dealing with a narcissistic, all kinds of, sociopath, pedophile convicted, not pedophile, forgive me, erase that, but
convicted of sexual
assault and maybe
fraud.
with Epstein,
34 count fraud conviction in New York State.
They know that. They know this, and they're cutting him slack. And I was asking myself, why would you do that? Why would you even bother getting involved in politics? Because you're a part of the kingdom of God, and we are among the world, but we're to come out from it. And that doesn't mean you don't vote, but it means you don't get really super involved in it like he's done, because he's convinced many Christians that Trump is, well, probably, I think, going to declare he's God. Anyways, so why would he do that? And I'm thinking maybe the conversation allegedly might have been, you know, Franklin, as president, I can eliminate tax exemptions from anything I wanted to without actually saying it. Remember, Cohen said he would say things you knew what he was saying, but he wasn't saying them.
Yep.
I could eliminate tax exemptions from anything I wanted to. I can do anything I want.
Well, the churches are exempt from tax, and that's one of my bugaboos. Is I'm wondering whether they should be, because if you're throwing your support towards somebody that's political, then you should be paying the price too.
I agree and disagree, and I'll tell you why. Let me finish my thing, and we'll go there. So then either you endorse him, or you're getting threatened to be taxed as your church, which is a great expense. Now, getting back to what you said, I tend to agree with you on the one hand. On the other hand, you take a church like mine that spends most of its resources helping people.
Yes.
And the poor and the suffering and many tears and many things. That's just Christianity as I know it. We weren't promised a rose garden. We were promised the joy of the Lord. But we have tasks and hurts and things that we have to deal with. And we struggle by trying to figure out a way to keep things going. Taxing us would end us.
So maybe a reasonable position would be a tax level.
Yeah.
Churches up to this size can be tax exempt. Yeah. If you go greater than that, if your pastor owns not one jet but two jets, you're going to be in a tax bracket. We're going to tax you the same as we would the rich.
Well, they already have that in Canada. I don't know if it's in the United States. I don't know if you're aware of it. There is, for charitable organizations, there is these different levels. We had to apply. And we had to fill up many, had lawyers and everything else do it. All churches do, in at least Ontario. You have to be able to justify any tax exemption. And we pass with honors, quite frankly. But there are those who don't, and they go into a different category.
Now, I don't want to get stuck on tax exemption for churches. I want to get back onto Franklin Graham making claims that Trump is the orange Jesus.
Yeah, well, I don't think he said that, but he's acting as if he is.
Yes.
There are, like a lot of them are acting as if he is. And a lot of it is why do people do what they do? They do it for money. And you cannot serve God in money.
Yeah, so that tax exemption threat by Trump would be something that they would say,
But it's not just that. If you're seen with the president, it's worth money to you. It's worth people coming to your congregation because you hobnob.
You mean you can whisper you're a Trump whisperer?
Well, you're there. You're with the guy. You're friends. Musicians do this. All kinds of musicians. They hobnob with other people, like in the Christian world too. They'll get together with people that are questionable, but they have an audience of 5 million. So if they get with them, they may sell 200,000 more copies of their song.
Okay, so let's get back to the morality issue. It's an ethics issue. It's an issue of Franklin Graham is claiming one thing about Trump and God's anointing or chosenness of Trump, which you cannot prove or demonstrate. And you might be able to actually prove the opposite, which is by his fruit you will know him. You can judge him by his mean-spirited, his tenacity to destroy and annihilate people, from that poor ambassador to Ukraine who said...
What would Jesus do? None of that.
None
of it. He didn't have a place to lay his head. He said numerous times the warnings of money, the trappings of money. He says money is a root or the root of all evil. So we need it to pay whatever we need to do, but the love of it, like obviously Trump has a love of money, and he's breeded that into his children. They have a love of money.
Got to get more.
When that goes into the church and everything else, you've got some choices to make. And you and me were talking just offline here, but we were talking about, I said it would be better, in my opinion, for Franklin Graham to say, if this is the case, to say to the president, I know you have this kind of power. I hope it never affects the church. And then just walk away. Don't submit to that. It would be better, in my opinion, to go down in ashes and be found in some little 150-seat church somewhere preaching the truth of Jesus Christ, who is truth. Truth. Not a lie. Is truth. Matter of fact, doesn't like a lie. Matter of fact, they're going to be left out of the new Jerusalem coming down, is those who manufacture lies are going to be left out. So Franklin would know this. So you would be better off to let your kingdom go.
But it's not just Franklin Graham. That's the trouble. It's pervasive in the major efforts of mainstream denominations in the United States, from Focus on the Family and Dobson's. And I used to be a follower of James Dobson and his War for the Family or whatever, War in America or whatever his title was back in the day. But now it's a shifting thing from politics was a necessary evil to politics is necessary for us to get what we want, which is to build our kingdoms, whether it's an organization like Focus on the Family or Franklin Graham's ministry, whatever that is called at this point, and Jerry Falwell Jr. and all the stuff that represents the not good side of faith.
And remember out there, people, there are little churches like the church I attend that are helping people all of the time, and we're poor. We do not have no extra money whatsoever. Yeah. No extra money. Haven't given the pastor a raise in 10 years or whatever. I don't know.
There is authentic faith. Maybe it's not found in some of the leaders. Jim and Terry Show signing on. Bye-bye.
Though the sweat of my brow and the toil of my hands has got me so far into this promised land.